Being like
draw a small gray.
Small gray. Damn.
Are these the aliens that you've seen?
That is not gray.
No, but
Which ones did you see?
yeah, these right here, the small grays. They have a little
Had a
slippery
mouth? How do they breathe?
They have nostrils, but they don't.
Do they breathe oxygen?
Yes, they can breathe oxygen. They the atmosphere on their planet is very similar, but it's a binary star system, so they have like 2 suns, which makes the air a lot drier. Their skin is their bones are more fragile than ours. Here are the tall whites, and they're actually a clone created by the small grays.
Are they?
What's the angry ones look like? The reptile ones that you're talking about?
Are they evil? The alien ones?
Or no? They look like reptiles, not friendly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. This is a very bad drawing, but
It's bad.
This is pretty good to me.
Those are dudes on land and lost, right?
Just eat somebody. How tall are those motherfuckers right there?
these guys right here, and they're all humanoids. So they both walk on 2 legs. They all walk on 2 legs.
What?
This thing right here is huge. They're actually they're taller than us. They stand about 6 foot something on an average to 7 foot.
Are they are they like 230?
They're huge. I don't know, but the one image that I have seen of them, they're huge. Like they have
The fucking big dudes, like, what's their fucking planet like?
Yeah. This guy?
Yeah.
I don't know, but they.
How do they react? Can they breathe oxygen too?
These, yes, but these and these had a large war.
Okay, who won?
These guys. Well, no, these guys won. They almost wiped these out, but.
They had a soft spot.
So we should be more worried about
their
the
planet
ones.
was destroyed, so they had to go to Serpo.
Well, this guy's got a fucking bunch of motherfucking clones. So.
How do you know that there was an alien war?
Because ED1 said so.
I actually watched it.
Are these
12 humans
motherfuckers,
in red.
when this asteroid or whatever the fuck's gonna go on here pretty soon, are these motherfuckers gonna come help us out?
The thing that they're calling an asteroid that's supposed to hit us and destroy us was actually not an asteroid. It's a spaceship.
Holy shit, we're done.
It is. It was actually a spaceship of the reptilian kind, but it's since then.
So we're gonna get invaded.
No, that's what
where are
they're
these
talking about.
motherfuckers at? Because if these motherfuckers are like within a couple years out, these motherfuckers are nowhere to be seen. What the fuck's going on?
Well, that's what we're doing. We're forming an alliance with them.
We have a mysterious new kid on the block. Astronomers call it Oumuamua, which in Hawaiian roughly translates to first-time visitor from far away. Oumuamua is the first interstellar object ever detected in our solar system. Astronomers discovered it in 2017 with the Pan-STARRS 1 telescope. And like all grand discoveries, it has raised more questions than it answers. Where did it come from? What's it made of? And yes, even the ultimate query, is it aliens? That's what 2 Harvard astrophysicists posed in a recent paper, suggesting that Oumuamua could be some type of alien spacecraft. And when we spoke with one of them, the idea didn't sound as far-fetched as you might think.
I prefer to adopt the maxim of Sherlock Holmes that if you rule out the impossible, whatever remains, as improbable as it is, must be the truth.
Now, a good rule of thumb is that aliens are always the least likely answer. But here's the thing. The more reasonable explanation right now isn't panning out. Most astronomers think that Oumuamua is probably a stray comet from another stellar system. The only problem is that it doesn't look like any comet we've ever seen, because it appears to lack that iconic tail.
There was an anomaly seen in the data, and it cannot be explained by the most conventional explanation, which in this case is a cometary outgassing. And so we propose an alternative interpretation, which is the only one I could think of.
But it seems extreme to assume aliens just because Oumuamua doesn't look like a comet, right? Not when the Harvard scientists accounted for another peculiarity. As Oumuamua traveled through our solar system, it didn't follow the normal path of a typical comet under the sun's gravity. Rather, it slightly shifted off course, which couldn't be explained by gravity alone. Something else, some unknown force was also at play, manipulating the object's behavior.
I cannot think of any other possibility other than the outgassing that we find in comets, which seems to be ruled out because we don't see a cometary tail, or the pressure from the sunlight. There is no other proposal on the table right now.
Pressure from sunlight. It works similarly to how wind pushes against a sail on a boat. So too can sunlight push against a spacecraft to propel it through space. Incidentally, we call these spacecraft solar sails. There's just one catch. Pressure from sunlight is extremely light, lighter than the weight of a fly on your hand, which means in order for it to be effective, solar sails also have to be extremely light and thin. In 2010, for example, Japan's space agency launched its Ikaros solar sail, which only weighed 1.1 pounds. But it eventually managed to travel over 65 million miles from Earth on just sunlight alone. And it's this type of force that the Harvard scientists think could be propelling Oumuamua too. Of course, that's if it's an alien-made sail in the first place.
Well, first of all, I am not confident that this is the correct interpretation because we don't have enough data. And so this is one possibility. I would highly recommend for people to read the paper. If they have a better idea, they should publish it.
Astronomers say they've been receiving radio signals from a distant galaxy. Scientists with Canada's Chime Observatory say one of their telescopes picked up 13 bursts of fast radio waves, known as FRBs. The signals came from a source 1.5 billion light years away. The cause and precise origin of the radio waves is still unknown.
On August 15th, 1977, a strange signal from the constellation Sagittarius was received by the Big Ear radio telescope. The signal, known as the UFO signal, reached an intensity up to 30 times higher than the usual signals and had a duration of 72 seconds. Its name comes from the note written at that moment by the person who discovered it, Jerry R. Eman, collaborator and SETI project, a project for the search for extraterrestrial intelligence founded by NASA in 1960. The UFO signal is, among all the strange signals received up to now, the one that has the greatest likelihood of having been emitted by intelligent extraterrestrial beings, despite its origin still being uncertain to this day.
Fast radio bursts were only first detected 13 years ago from immense explosions millions of light years away. The signals race through the galaxies and the nebulae, stretching as they go. Finally spotted on Earth, one radio burst's wavelength light was converted to sound. Thanks to a powerful new Canadian telescope called Chime near Penticton, BC, scientists have determined that radio bursts can repeat. Watching from York University, Paul Delaney.
The repeating part of it is what is really exciting because now we stand a chance of figuring out what these things are.
And the latest stunning discovery? A rhythmic pattern. To see fast radio bursts repeat is one thing. To see them arrive in rhythm is something else again. The signals have now been detected over 4 days and then silence for 12 days. Again, and here's that sound. Over and over for 4 days and then quiet again for 12. And this cycle is repeating every 16.3 days like clockwork. Could it be a message from millions of light years away?
Important observatories that tries to solve some of the mysteries of the universe is now trying to solve a mystery of its own. Why did a thick steel cable suddenly snap, damaging a key instrument? The Arecibo radio telescope in Puerto Rico is now silent as a result.
It's been a backdrop for Hollywood films, like the 1997 sci-fi drama Contact.
Isn't she a beauty?
It'll do.
And it's where James Bond stopped the villain in the climactic scene of GoldenEye. But Puerto Rico's Arecibo Observatory is more than just a scene stealer. It's home to one of the world's largest radio telescopes, acting as a giant ear to our universe. Until this week. On Monday morning, the facility was forced to close down after a cable supporting a metal platform above the telescope fell, tearing a 100-foot-long gash in the giant reflector dish.
The cable didn't really break in the sense of a cable kind of snapping, but it just sort of slipped from its socket, which is an even weirder condition. So we're still trying to get our engineering team to make assessments of that to understand the root cause.
The telescope, located in the middle of a forest, listens for radio signals from galaxies near and far. It's contributed to numerous breakthroughs in astronomy and played a major role in the SETI program, the search for intelligent life, even used by famed Cornell astronomer Carl Sagan to send an interstellar message. But now radio communication, both incoming and outgoing, will be silent for a while. Observatory technicians have been working around the clock trying to get the telescope back online, but it probably won't be a quick fix.
We still don't know. We're still making assessments, trying to understand really what caused the failure, making sure that we're restoring the structural capability. So at this point, we don't really have a clear timeline on when that is going to happen.
Since it was built in 1963, the observatory has survived terrestrial hazards like hurricanes, tropical storms, and earthquakes. But it is otherworldly threats the telescope is on the lookout for, tracking asteroids that could endanger our planet. It's also been part of the search for other planets that may be able to sustain life. All reasons why the scientific community hopes it is back up and running soon.
We'll find a way to repair this particular issue and continue to move forward. We've overcome a lot in our 50-year history, from Hurricane Maria to a very recent rash of earthquakes to now this. So we're a pretty resilient bunch down here, and we're going to figure out a way to continue to move forward doing exciting science.
After decades of denial and secrecy and flat-out lying, America's defense establishment is finally admitting some of what it knows about UFOs. The Navy has admitted that its pilots encounter unidentified aircraft so often that they've had to draft new reporting guidelines to allow pilots to come forward. It's easy to find this funny, but it's also scary if you think about it. Our vast, well-funded defense establishment is seeing things in the sky they cannot account for, doing things they cannot understand. Should we be worried? Congressman Mark Walker is a Republican representing the state of North Carolina. He just sent a letter to the Secretary of the Navy, Richard Spencer, about the military's UFO investigations. We recently spoke to the congressman. Here's part of what he said. Should we be worried about this?
Well, we are concerned about it. As the ranking member of Terrorism and Counterintelligence, we have questions. It comes down to some of the new infrared radar systems that we're putting on some of our new jets are detecting some things out there. We call them unidentified aerial threats, and that's something that we're looking at. Our UAPs is what we call it. We want to know the information, and that's why it's important that we take a look at this.
So this has been going on an awfully long time. There's a lot of data the government has stored about this. Most of it, I think, is still classified. But there must be theories about what these objects are, what these aircraft are. What's the most plausible theory, do you think?
Well, what we don't know for sure. Obviously, what we do know is the question that we're wanting to get to is this something that's a defense mechanism from another country? We do know that China is looking at hypersonic missiles. That's 25,000 kilometers, or to break it down into our language, that's getting from D.C., where I'm at, to L.A. in about 9 minutes. We don't know that the nuclear warheads can be attached to those. Is it something like that, or is it something more? We don't know, but I feel like it's something that we must take a look at, and that's why we've written Secretary Spencer of the Navy.
Is there any indication that you're aware of that these sightings are foreign aircraft, Russian or Chinese aircraft?
We don't know. We have no evidence to support that. We do know there's something that's traveling at that speed of what we call hypersonic now, which is a Mach 4 or 5, not to get too technical. That is something that we want to know. Is this something that another defense system in another country is more advanced, or is it something else? We're not trying to spook people out, but the AATIP, which is basically a program that the government monitors this, was to close down in 2017. So part of my question, Tucker, is it really closed down? Are we still spending resources, or is there more documentation that this program is still being able to file somewhere? That's something that we need to know, even if it's just for defense purposes alone.
We spoke to a government employee who has worked on this issue, who said that the U.S. government has wreckage from one of these aircraft. Do you know anything about that?
We don't know, but that's one of the 4 questions that we are asking. Is there evidence being held somewhere? Not to get too spooky once again, but if there is evidence, I believe it's important for people, specifically in my position as the ranking member of Terrorism and Counterintelligence, we need to know what this is.
The U.S. Navy has finally acknowledged that videos appearing to show UFOs flying through the air are real. They don't call them UFOs. They call them unidentified aerial phenomena. The several videos they're talking about were recorded years ago by fighter pilots. Then in 2017, they were made public by the New York Times. More now from our Randy Kay.
Look at that thing. It's rotating.
Images of that rotating thing captured by U.S. Navy aircraft, sensors locking in on the target. Commander David Fravor saw it firsthand during a training mission, describing it like a 40-foot-long tic-tac, maneuvering rapidly and changing direction.
As we both looked out the right side of our airplane, we saw a disturbance in the water and a white object, oblong, pointing north.
The object was first sighted in 2004, then similar objects again in 2015. Footage of the sightings, declassified by the military, weren't made public until December 2017 by the New York Times and a group that researches UFOs.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
This was extremely abrupt, like a ping pong ball bouncing off a wall. The ability to hover over the water and then start a vertical climb from basically zero up towards about 12,000 feet and then accelerate in less than 2 seconds and disappear is something I had never seen in my life.
Some people look to the stars and ask, what if? Our job is to have an answer. We have to imagine what will be imagined. Plan for what's possible while it's still impossible. Maybe you weren't put here just to ask the questions. Maybe you were put here to be the answer. Maybe your purpose on this planet isn't on this planet.